If you ask some folks, they'd say Labour is absolutely on the nose up north, and things aren't looking too flash for them in the upcoming federal election. We are diving deep into what's happening in Queensland politics, Trump's latest tariff war that could smash Aussie exports, and the looming economic crisis that no one seems to want to talk about.
Strap in because this is going to be a wild ride.
Now, before we crack into it, smash that like button, subscribe, and let us know in the comments if you reckon Albanese can turn this mess around. And if you're sick of political nonsense, grab our Albo Says Relax t-shirt. Only $16 for the next 9 hours.
Links in the description.
Right, let's get into it.
Labour's performance in Queensland is looking grim.
According to Courier Mail columnist Des Houghton, the party barely holds onto 5 seats in the state and is struggling to gain any ground. There's chatter that they might reclaim Griffith, Kevin Rudd's old stomping ground, from the Greens, but beyond that,
it's looking like a lost cause.
And Queenslanders? They are not impressed. Years of scandals, financial blowouts, and dodgy deals have left voters fuming. Just this week, fresh allegations surfaced in state parliament about a whopping $9 billion in unforeseen government spending, pushing state debt to a staggering $278 billion by 2027. That's a massive burden, and Queenslanders aren't exactly lining up to forgive Labour for it. But it's not just Queenslanders who are fed up. Right across Australia, voters are ditching the major parties like they are going out of fashion.
Think about this. More than 2/3 of Aussies don't vote for either Labour or the Coalition anymore.
Instead, minor parties and independents are picking up steam, and why wouldn't they? People are sick of the same old promises, the same old failures, and the same old excuses. Now, let's talk about Donald Trump, because, as usual, he's causing chaos. The current 47th US president has slapped tariffs on some of America's closest trading partners, and guess what?
Australia's been caught in the crossfire.
Efforts to secure an exemption for Aussie steel and aluminium have flopped, and now there are serious concerns that other key exports, like beef, could be next. And that's a huge problem. Our beef exports to the US are worth more than $3 billion, and most of that goes straight into American fast food chains like McDonald's. If Trump expands his tariffs, it won't just be farmers feeling the pinch, it'll ripple across the entire economy. And speaking of food, here's a fun little tidbit. Did you know we actually import the cheese used for mozzarella on Australia's 2 biggest pizza brands? That's right, mate. We can produce some of the best dairy in the world, yet we are still bringing in cheese from overseas.
Wrap your head around that one. But let's get back to the federal election, because this could be a make-or-break moment for both major parties.
Cost of living is at crisis levels, the housing market is cooked, and inflation is still hitting Aussie families hard. With the federal budget coming up in March 2025, people are desperate for relief, but let's be real, handouts don't solve the problem. Every new spending spree just jacks up national debt, making it harder for future generations to get ahead. Now, we can't ignore the weather chaos either. Over the weekend, ex-tropical cyclone Alfred had Queensland and northern New South Wales on edge. At one point, it was a Category 2 system, and there were warnings of massive damage. But when it finally rolled through Brisbane, it barely had enough wind to knock over a deck chair. Meanwhile, while Queensland copped a drenching, the rest of the country is still battling brutal droughts. South Australia is facing its worst dry spell in 33 years, grain crops have been slashed in half, and vineyards are struggling to keep their grapes from shriveling.
Western Victoria and parts of NSW aren't faring much better.
So yeah, while Alfred caused a few headaches, the real weather crisis is still unfolding across the country. At the end of the day, Australians are getting sick of the political circus. Whether it's the cost of living nightmare, Trump's tariff war, or Queensland's ballooning debt, it feels like the people in charge are asleep at the wheel. The federal election is fast approaching, and voters are angry. So, what do you reckon? Is Albanese toast in Queensland? Will Trump's tariffs hammer the Aussie economy? And is there any politician left who can actually fix this mess? Let us know in the comments. And remember, if you're over the political madness, grab yourself an Albo Says Relax t-shirt before the sale ends.
Links in the description.
We'll see you next time, same place, same chaos. Stay sharp.